Greetings, dear soul, and welcome to the last episode in Keepers of the Garden. I will not be reading chapter 20, Terror in the Night, but in it, Dolores talks about the things that happened in 1987, her working with MUFON, Mutual UFO Network, on UFO abduction cases. And she talks about Whitley Strieber, and you should buy this book, honestly. But I'm going to continue with chapter 21, 2, and 3. 21 is Discovery of Earlier Contacts. Phil had been disturbed by the last session, so I was waiting for him to contact me if he wanted to pursue the UFO question any further. I truly didn't think he would want to. But when he called me a week later, he said he had been having some strange dreams. He wondered if they might have some connection with the previous session. Perhaps we had somehow triggered something in his subconscious. We arranged a session to explore this. I turned on the tape recorder as he reported the dreams. Phil thought it strange that all of them had occurred around the same time. He would wake up around 3 o'clock in the morning with the memory of the dream firmly etched in his memory. He said, "Sometimes I wake up for no reason after one of these important dreams. And when I look at the clock, it's always 3 o'clock. That seems to be a significant time of morning for some reason." One dream concerned his mother and all 5 of the children. He saw himself and his brother and sisters as children instead of adults. They were riding in a station wagon through some city. In the next scene, he was sitting on some kind of a gurney or cot in a doctor's office, and the rest of his family were on gurneys in the same room, yet they were all unconscious. And Phil reported, "I was talking to a woman, and I felt that what they were doing was very dangerous to me, yet I wasn't afraid of them. It's a complicated feeling to describe. It's like on one level I felt I was in very real danger, but yet on the other hand I wasn't afraid of them because I knew they weren't going to hurt us. There's a kind of paradox there, but you know, in a dream it's easy to feel stuff like that." The woman said they were harvesting eggs, or I got that from the conversation that they were taking eggs from my sisters. And somehow from the conversation I knew they had been taken something from me, and it was half of whatever it was that I had that they wanted. She said it wouldn't hurt me, and I asked, "Well, what about later on if I want to have children?" And she didn't say anything. Then the next thing I remember in that dream was I saw this praying mantis type beast again. That was all he could remember from the dream. So I began to regress him, and I used the key word for our normal procedure. And it was, this time, instead of seeing the 3 spires, he came out of the elevator into a scene from his childhood. Without being directed to do so, he had returned to an earlier time in his life. It was 1965 and Phil was 10. He was standing in a field behind his house during the daytime, watching a strange object. Trees blocked him from the house and highway, so no one else would have seen it. He described it as bell-shaped, rounded at the top, broader at the base, and more squat than a bell. The size was perhaps 30 or 40 feet wide. It was resting on legs and glowing white and luminous. I asked him, "What are you doing there?" "I'm talking with them." "With who?" "With the people inside. They're telling me things. They're standing on the ramp and I'm on the ground." "What do they look like?" "They're short with big heads and gray skin, but they're very nice. In fact, they're very loving, very full of love." "You said they're telling you things?" "Yes, things about me, things that I'm gonna do, things that I'm supposed to do, things that I will do, and why, things that are in my future." "Are they speaking words to you?" "No, they're thinking to me. They said I was here for a big reason, an important mission, and the things that happen in my life are to help me on that mission, the purpose, and to never forget or give up." "Have they told you what the mission is?" "Yes, it's to help people because people will be afraid, and they need someone who knows what's going on, someone that people can look up to and not be afraid, someone to guide and lead them when they're afraid." "How did you get out to this spaceship?" "I walked from my house." "How did you know to go there?" "I felt it. I just knew." "If this is daytime, I wonder if other people can see out there in the field." "I don't know. I can see it. I know who these beings are somehow, like I've seen them before. They're familiar. Somehow I know they're friends, although I don't know why. I was sorry when they left because I didn't want to stay here. I wanted to go with them, and I cried. Then I went inside my house and took a nap and forgot about them when I woke up." "So you didn't go on board the ship?" "No, they said to stay there. They didn't want me on the ship. I wasn't supposed to." "But you weren't afraid of them. Did you forget about them then?" "Yes, I was supposed to. They told me I would." "And they just communicated mentally with you?" "Yes, they thought to me." "Did you see the ship leave?" "No, I turned around and left. Then I looked back and they were gone. They just weren't there anymore. They knew me. I liked them." "Was this the first time you had seen them?" "No, because I knew them. But I don't remember when or where." Since this was all that comprised of the 10-year-old incident, I decided to proceed. I asked Phil's subconscious if the dream about his family was a real experience or if it were just a dream. The subconscious said it had been a dream of a memory, so I instructed him to move to the time that the incident occurred. He immediately began describing a vacation he and his family had taken to Memphis to see the Cotton Festival on the river. In wonderment through a young child's eyes, he told of the various events and the excitement of watching the fireworks over the water. When I asked if anything out of the ordinary occurred, he said nothing happened in Memphis. But he moved ahead to the nighttime drive back home. He said, "I don't know where that was. It must have been a dream." "Do you think it was a dream?" "No, it was very real. I was there. I was the only one awake. The others were afraid, so they went to sleep. But I wasn't afraid. They let me stay awake. I knew who they were. They were my friends, from above. Nice people, but they were scary." "Where were you when this was happening?" "On the ship." somewhere off the road on the trip home from Memphis. They said they needed something, some stuff. And I said, okay. What do they look like? Well, not so bad, kind of gray, not much color. Do they all look alike? No, not one of them. I don't like that one. It looks creepy, like an insect. I don't know, I'm not sure if it's alive or not. It moves, it looks like a machine, and it acts like it's alive, but I don't like that one. Then what did they do? You said they wanted something? Uh-huh. Samples. That's all they wanted, samples. What about the rest of your family? Did they do anything to them? No, not really. Nothing bad. They didn't want to hurt anybody. They just wanted samples. They're okay. Did they take samples from your brothers and sisters too? From my two oldest sisters, from Linda and Gail. They didn't take anything from Kathy or my brother. What about your mother? No, they didn't take anything from her either. They wanted to take some from me, a specimen, but I wasn't old enough. Do you know what kind of samples they took from your sisters? Eggs. How were they able to do that? That thing. It stuck a needle in them, in their stomach, and pulled it out. Did it bother your sisters? No, they were asleep. Then what happened after that? They put us back in the car. Then did you all wake up or what? I don't know. I went to sleep and forgot about it. And you didn't tell them anything about what happened? Nah, I forgot about it. I was supposed to. I wonder if that was a dream or it might relate to something that really happened. Uh-huh, it did. Then I moved Phil ahead in time to another event when he was 14. This also happened on a trip to Memphis. Since his grandmother lived there, the family made regular trips to that city. When the scene came into focus, he immediately found himself sitting on a gray table. He instinctively knew that the rest of his family was also lying on tables near him, but he couldn't see them because his attention was focused on a strange being standing in front of him. When he began to speak, his voice took on the nuances of a younger teenager. His speech was not as complex as an adult's. He described what he was seeing. It's a woman, sort of a woman. She's not really a woman. She's a kind of a woman? What do you mean? She's a different kind of woman. How is she different? She's nice, but her face is all wrinkled. But lots of women are wrinkled. This is different. Her face is like elephant skin, gray and lots of wrinkles. She talks, sort of, with her eyes. She doesn't really talk, but she tells me things with her eyes when she looks at me. Is she very big? It's hard to say. We're on eye level and I'm sitting on a table. What other features does she have? Mainly what I see is her eyes. They're kind of almond-shaped. They're different from our eyes. They're just deep. It's like she feels you when she looks at you. Does she have any hair? I'm not sure. All I really notice are the eyes. How do you know she's a woman? Just the way she feels. She just seems like a woman. What is she telling you with her eyes? To be not afraid. Why is the rest of your family asleep? They went to sleep because they were scared. She said I was used to this and that I wouldn't be bothered by it. That's why I'm awake. If it would bother me, I'd be asleep. How did you get there? We were driving to Memphis and we saw this light. I don't remember much. It seems like it was in the road. It seems like they came out to the car, but I don't know. Who are they? I don't know. Some people or something. I'm not sure what they were. I was afraid. I closed my eyes. But they took us out of the car and sort of carried us somewhere. I don't know where. Were the others afraid? I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think anybody said anything. Seems like it was real quiet. And now they're asleep and you're awake. Then what happens? She was talking to me. I don't remember what all she said. She scared me. Something scared me. Something she said? Yes. I thought it was going to hurt. I didn't want to go back. But she said it would be okay. They were going to stick me. What were they going to stick you with? I don't know. Something like a needle. Where are they going to stick you with a needle? Somewhere. But it didn't hurt. She said it would be all right. What else happened? I got to meet one of the men who was sort of like the pilot. He was real nice. He was laughing, sort of at me, but really with me, because I was afraid. And he knew there was nothing to be afraid of. We laughed together, and I felt kind of silly. It felt good to laugh. Did he make sounds when he laughed? Not out loud, but in our minds and through our eyes. I don't know. We talked, but I don't remember really talking. What did the pilot look like? He was more normal than the others. He looked more like us, but his eyes were different. They were kind of slanted more than they should have been. But they were okay, they were just different. Was he more our size? Yeah, he had hair, something light-colored, silver or blonde or something like that. He had clothes on, almost like a vest or a jacket, and pants. I don't know if he had shoes or not. I never looked down. I liked him. He was happy, friendly. He seemed important. You said the others. Did the others all look like that woman? No, they were different too. I don't remember much about them. I had my eyes closed. But they brought me into the room, and then she came in and started talking. I felt real comfortable when she talked to me, so I opened my eyes. And they wanted you to meet the pilot? Yeah, it was kind of important somehow. I guess the whole thing seemed important. I thought it was really neat that they let me do that. Where was the pilot? He was up front with his controls. He showed me some of the stuff and explained it. But I really didn't know what he was saying. He showed me how he could wave his hand over a control and it would light up. And I did it and it lit up. like a panel with a flat part of a control, with a knob coming out of the top, and the flat part would light up. Did he tell you what it was for? He said some things, but I just didn't understand it. I didn't know how it works. All I could tell was that you could wave your hand over it and it would light up. I don't know what that meant. I don't understand. If you could remember some of the words, maybe we could figure it out. I just didn't understand what he was saying. Transluxor, something like that. I don't know what it means. He said different words. Zerbok, Zerbe, something like that. Just words that I don't know what they meant. Zerboing, Zerberline, Zerboxing or something. I don't know what it is. Impulse? Maybe impulse drive or something like that. The words didn't really have any meaning to me. He knew what he was saying, and he was explaining how it worked, what made it go. I don't understand. Did he say anything about how the ship was powered? Energy. He said that it channels some kind of energy. Directs it. That's what he said. Did he say where the energy came from? I think he said it's all around, just raw energy. But you have to know how to use it. Did he show you anything else in the control room? Some other stuff. It's pretty neat. Some kind of force field or something. They could... I don't know. It's scary. I don't like talking about it. Why? What was scary about that? I don't know. I just don't like talking about it. It's scary. Something wrong about it. I don't like what he's saying they can do. They can hurt people. Hold people like animals. I don't like that. Why would they want to do that? I don't know. I don't like it. I don't know if he's my friend or not. I don't like what he's saying, and maybe he's not really a friend. But you felt comfortable with him. I don't like what he's saying about doing to people. That's how they do it from the control room. It was on part of the panel. They do that to people. I'm kind of afraid they might be doing it to me. He said they could shock people, make them stunned, like we do with animals sometimes. The way we hurt them when we poke them and make them do what we want. And we don't really care how they feel. That's what they're doing to us. I didn't know they could. I don't like it. I don't think he's a friend. I think maybe I'm in trouble. Oh, I don't think so. Could you ask him why they want to do that to people? He said sometimes they have to because people get violent or hysterical and they have to be subdued. That's what he said. Then it probably wouldn't hurt them permanently, would it? No, that's what he said. Did he say why they brought you on board? No, he didn't talk about that. He's just talking about things in the control room, electrical things. He said I would understand later. He pulled a cover off. There were these lights in little rows of some kind. Looks like liquid light. Kind of like in a tube or something, like a fuse, but it seems like it's fluid. It moves. Something about a junction. Some kind of connection or something. And it's part of how it works. Are there many of these liquid lights? 4, 5. 5 in a row, side by side. They're like little tubes that have, looks like liquid light flowing through, and then they go in behind to the rest of the panels somewhere. Something in there. Are they like neon lights? Yeah, kind of, except you can't see through it. It looks like solid light. Did he say what they use those for? It's sort of like our blood is to our body. That's how it is to the stuff on the whatever this is. You mean like a fuel of some kind? No, not like fuel, but more like blood. It sort of keeps the spaceship circulating. I guess he's saying it carries the energy around. Do you mean these are in other places on the ship? It goes through the ship. It circulates. That's how it goes through the ship. It circulates. That's what he said. In the walls or in the floor? Yeah, through the machinery. Like oil, I guess. It circulates, only it's not the fuel. It carries the fuel, the energy. That's it. It carries the energy, circulates it through the ship, through the rest of the machinery or whatever that is. It's not like machinery. Through the rest of the stuff that works, whatever it is. Is this an important part? It's just one part. It's not a main part or anything. He's just showing it to me, explaining how this kind of stuff works. Can you see the other places where it circulates, or are they hidden? It's like I can't see them with my eyes, but I can see a picture in my head of where they go. It's sort of inside and goes through to the middle, a bunch of stuff. I don't know what it is. It's just part of the stuff that makes this ship go. Is it hidden behind the walls? Sort of. It's just in different parts, different areas, covered with different things. Lots of stuff in there. It's behind that little panel. It's there to look at and, I guess, make adjustments or check on it maybe. I don't know. But it's just there so you can see it. That's strange. Is it any certain color? It's white. Bright light. It looks like a liquid, but it's just energy is what he said. Did he show you anything else? A little black box. Said it was mine. Said I couldn't keep it, but he wanted to show me. What did it look like? It's little, not square, but longer, kind of black and shiny, smooth. I think it opens, but I couldn't figure out how. There's something inside, but I don't know what it is. He said it's mine, but I can't take it. What does he mean it's yours? He said I made it once, long ago. What do you think about that? Whatever he said. I wasn't going to argue. It seemed okay. I thought it was kind of neat. But it opened somehow. There's something inside of it. I think he told me, but I think I just knew. Where did he get the box? I don't know. I think somebody handed it to him. He said, "Here, look at this." I said, "What is it?" He said, "This is yours. You built this long ago when you were part of another race. This is to remind you of your heritage." I said, "What is it?" I don't know what he said after that. Some word. He said, obstinate or something. That's what he said. Some kind of stuff. I think he meant that what it was made out of. He said it was for me to remember my heritage, that I was part of another race. It was a heavy, smooth, black and shiny box. I think there's something inside of it. I was afraid to try and open it. I thought he'd be mad. It kind of looked like a little coffin. Kind of bulged out and was rounded on the top. Could you have opened it if you tried? Yeah, I think I know how, but I was afraid to. It's like you have to know how in your mind. I think the mental lock is in your mind. If you don't know how it works, it won't open. But if you see in your mind how to do it, then it opens and you can pull the top off. Can anybody else open it? I think I'm the only one. Because it's like he said, I made it. Then he's not curious to find out what it is. He didn't seem like it was important, just that maybe I'd like to see it, like it was important to me. What happened to the black box? I gave it back to him. He smiled, like he knew something. He was smiling sort of with me, but I think kind of at me. Just like sometimes when somebody knows something and they're not saying what they know, but you can tell by the way they're looking at you that they know something. Did he show you anything else after that? It's like there was so much. There was a lot going on. There was other people in there, little people that were working. What did they look like? They were sort of short, ugly, gray. They had big bald heads. But you said the one you thought was a woman didn't look like them? No, she was different somehow, but nice, friendly. She just had real wrinkled skin. There was something about her eyes. You just couldn't pull away from them. It's like they were holding me. I couldn't tear away, but it felt good. It was just different. She was nice. The ones that you said were ugly, did they communicate with you in any way? No, they were just there. There wasn't much to them. They were doing something else, moving about, touching things, carrying things. I don't know what they were. They just seemed to be busy. They didn't really pay any attention to me. Then the one that communicated with you the most was the pilot? I don't know about that. The pilot and the woman seemed like they were communicating with me, but I don't know which one did the most. Did you see anyone else that looked like the pilot? I saw one other. Somebody I saw walk through the other end of the hallway. He didn't look at me, didn't say anything, just walked on by. He was sort of like the pilot guy, more like us. That's all I saw. I think there was probably more, but I don't know for sure. Didn't see. What happened after that? I'm not sure. Seems like it's at night and we're back in the station wagon again. My brother and I are in the back seat. Linda's up front with Mom. Gail and Kathy are in the middle sleep. They're all asleep, but Mom's driving. Seems like we're going to Memphis. Do you know how you got back in your car? I'm not sure. Did your mother say anything? She's worried about getting to Memphis on time. Later on, she didn't say anything. For a while, kind of quiet. I'm listening to the road. Was it late at night? Early in the morning. And she didn't say anything about what happened? Nobody did. They don't know. Did you remember anything happening? No, not then. I didn't remember. I do now. At that time you just remembered taking the trip, but now you remember what really happened? Is that what you mean? I remember more, I guess. Do you think that experience was a dream? I don't know. It wasn't bad. It was okay. Kinda scary. Didn't hurt. I don't think I'd want to do it again. It was too different or weird or something. Didn't like it. But they never really did anything to you, did they? Yeah, they did. They took some stuff, some samples. Do you know what the samples were of? Skin. Anything else? That's all I remember. Okay, Phil, let's move forward in time to see if you will ever have another encounter with them after that time. I will count to 3 and we will be there if such a time exists. 1, 2, 3. We have moved forward in time. What are you doing now? What do you see? He said he was looking down at a very deep, open wound in his body, and it confused him. I asked him to describe it. I don't know why it's there. I don't remember anything. I'm not sure what I'm seeing. Is it bleeding? No, but I can see inside of it. Sort of like a gaping hole, although it's not ragged. Can you see where the wound is? I think it's on my right side. It's only a few inches long and maybe an inch or 2 wide, but it's a clean hole. It's not bleeding, but it's deep and dark red. How did you get that? It was opened to remove something. I don't know what it was. Something that was placed there before. Something that had been there for some time and then was removed. How was it removed? Surgically. The skin was cut, peeled open, and the top layer of skin was shaved off. Who did this? They did. Them. The ones. The watchers. The friends. Where were you when this happened? I was inside the ship on one of the tables. On the table. The only table in that room. Do you know what year this happens? I'm not sure. I don't feel time at all. Could you see what was removed? There was some sort of lump that was causing trouble. It had to be removed because it was harmful. This was something you said they put in there? It was a byproduct of what they put in there, an outcome or a result of the thing that was put in there. A shiny metal ball, and the lump formed around it. The lump is what they wanted to grow. They needed the tissue, a tumor. It would have been harmful to me, but it was necessary for them. They took it out so it wouldn't harm me. Did they remove the little shiny ball also? Yes, it was inside the lump. The tumor formed around the ball. It was more like a pellet. The tumor was to study my system. Some kind of system that's not immunological, but it's somewhat distantly related to that. I don't understand exactly what it is, but it's a system of some kind of regeneration. The lump was a reaction to this pellet that would have caused problems if it had been left there. But they needed the lump to study my reaction to this pellet. Something like the body's defense systems? More than just defense. Much more complicated than that. An assimilation, a growth generated by the pellet to study and understand the different systems in the body, including the immunological. They placed the pellet to study the growth that's surrounding the pellet. Was the pellet very big? Very small, somewhat near the size of a BB pellet for a pellet gun. And this didn't cause you any problem while it was inside your body? Somewhat, yes, although not anything serious. Discomfort more so than danger. Nothing that I can't live with. What kind of discomfort did you have? Somewhat nauseous, tired, some loss of balance, some slurring of speech. It was like the energy of the body was somewhat drained and concentrated into that pellet, that lump. Do you have any idea how long it was left inside you? It's still there. Still there? I thought they took it out. Not yet. Oh, you mean they're taking it out right now? No. Right now it's still there. When they removed the growth, didn't they take the pellet out also? This has not happened yet. This is sort of looking ahead, I suppose. Well, you said you saw the hole in your side and they were removing the lump from your body. They will, not yet. It's important for them and for me, for other things to come. What do you mean? I don't know. That's just it. Other things to come. That's all I know. But didn't you say it was dangerous for you if they left that lump inside you? If it were left, yes, but it won't be. It hasn't been taken out yet. It's not time. It was placed, injected. Then why did they make the incision? That's just a picture of what it will be like when it's taken out. A visualization. All right, that's what you were talking about. Then it has to remain for a certain length of time, and then it will be taken out and examined. What would happen if they didn't remove it? It would become a tumor and cause kidney problems. It would cause a shutdown of the kidney. Because of its mere size, it would grow and cause blockage. Then it's located in the kidney area. Well, it looks like you're going to meet up with these ETs again because they'll have to take that out at a certain time. That's okay with me. Looking back, the feeling I had with them was that they're okay. I can tell they're friendly. Yeah, even when you were 10, you weren't afraid of them. Yes, it felt like I knew them. I didn't know if it was them personally or who they were in general. But one thing happened that was weird. What was it? They stuck a probe in one of my testicles and pulled out fluid or cells or something. Was that what you were afraid was going to hurt? You said they stuck you with something? It was a small, slender silver tube, and it had something on the end of it. I saw the tube and I closed my eyes. I didn't want to see more. I could tell they were doing something, but it didn't hurt. They took specimens, samples, I guess. I think it's interesting that you thought that being was a woman. You could tell basically by her energy that her personality was very feminine. She was something that you might equate as a head nurse or something like that. Her skin was really wrinkled. I couldn't look at anything except her eyes. It seemed like when she looked at you, you were locked in on her eyes and you couldn't let go. But out of the corners of my eyes, I could see the rest of her. I really don't remember much except seeing the wrinkles. I don't remember if she had hair or not. Maybe that's how it works. She was locked in on your eyes so you wouldn't notice or feel anything else. I guess so. When that nurse was taking my samples, I was aware she was touching me, but I was really focused on the communication, on her eyes. I assumed that something was going on with the rest of my family. She didn't say, but I would just assume that was probably happening. But the other man, the pilot, seemed to be a lot different, right? Yeah, he seemed more human, although there was something different about him too. Not scary, just different. His eyes were kind of Asian eyes or Indian eyes, something like that. Only instead of being slits, they were more almond-shaped. It's hard to describe. They weren't black eyes. They had pupils like ours. The eyes themselves seemed to be pretty normal. It was just basically the shape of the eyes. Round in the middle, but they came to slits on the side. He had light hair, blonde or gray or something like that. Again, it's like I wasn't looking so much at them or around them as at their face and their eyes. You kind of lock in on their eyes. And the other details that you kind of filter in from the side. It's like our eyes are magnets and they lock in. It's compelling. And when they look at you, they have that magnetic pull. You can't break away from it. Maybe that's how the telepathy information is communicated. It is. It's almost like there's a physical connection there, and the communication goes across that lock, the magnetic pull or whatever it is. He was real friendly, and it was like he knew something that I didn't, but it was something nice. It wasn't anything bad at all. It was almost as though he had a twinkle in his eyes. The only part that bothered you was that thing that shocked people. Yes, that bothered me when he was telling me how they can make people stop and stun them. They can control people with a beam that they operate from the panel. It's a lot like when we take a cattle to the market. We guard them through the chutes and use a cattle prod and shock them to make them do what we want. It reminded me of that. It came out of the ship, I guess. He was saying they use that beam to control people when they have to. It seemed we're like cattle to them. Then they didn't seem so friendly. How do you feel about it now? Neutral. At this point, I don't know if I really believe it or not, but it doesn't bother me that I don't know. I wish I could. I'd like to believe it. Let's put it that way. I wish there was something that I could get a grasp on and say that I really believed all of this, but I don't. I think it's more like imagination or something. I don't know if it's real. I guess I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't experience something that I really could believe in. Why do you feel you want to believe it? I just think that it's something that, well, it gives us hope that there's more to life than just this day-to-day mundane stuff. Just to know there's a greater reality, something else out there. It's more exciting than our day-to-day life, but it's just not something we can say, yeah, this is real. It's either a product of a fertile imagination, or I don't know what it is. And then Dolores finishes this chapter by writing, "It is amazing that all these events, and who knows how many more, had been lying dormant in Phil's subconscious all his life. There was absolutely no indication they were there. We would not have explored them because we didn't know of their existence. They would have remained dormant if the memories had not been triggered by dreams. This session gave no indication that he would be bothered any further by these experiences because of his friendly attitude towards these beings. But this was not true. Over the next month, he was to experience much trauma as he tried to make these experiences fit into his life pattern. He didn't phone and tell me, so I didn't know about the internal problems that he was wrestling with.
First time it's ever happened that an entire world will make the shift at one time. It happened in the time of the Mayans. That's what people always say, what about the Mayan calendar ending at the year 2012? The Mayans disappeared. They were only one group, there were others. The Mayans disappeared. You always say, where did they go? Well, when I was told, they reached this point of development when they didn't need to be on Earth anymore. So their frequency and vibration was changing. They shifted en masse as a civilization and as a group into the other dimension. They disappeared. And I'm told the entire universes are watching because this is something that's never happened and it is tremendous. Time is speeding up. The vibrations are picking up. You all know time is speeding up. Everything is changing that way.
Chapter 22, Losing Touch with Reality. I was not aware that these sessions had so deeply disturbed Phil until the next meeting a few weeks later. He wanted to elaborate on what had been going on through his mind, so I turned on the tape recorder before I put him under. I think his report of the confusing emotions that manifested after the revival of these abduction memories will be helpful to other investigators who are trying to understand this unusual phenomenon. He said, I have to tell you, these sessions, working in this area, has bothered me. If I felt I could just walk away from it all, I would. It's disturbing. I don't want you to be upset about it or feel nervous for my sake, but sometimes in the days after we've worked, a feeling of dread comes over me for no reason. Not a panic, but I feel totally ill at ease. For a while I was questioning my sanity. It felt like I had lost touch with reality. You mean after that first session? After the first and second sessions, recalling the abductions, especially after the second one. The second one? I don't know. I had theorized what it could be, and the way I see it is there are several things at work here. One is the fact that when these events originally took place, it's very frightening, and those feelings have to be subdued or calmed. It's a way for them to be released after the fact down the road. But did you feel good when they were released? No, I felt horrible. In fact, like I said, I would be depressed and afraid of nothing. I couldn't pinpoint anything I was afraid of. I would just have these feelings of some unseen dread or something. and I would feel out of sync, out of touch with reality. It's unusual for me to feel like that. Did that last very long? Oh, it would last for maybe half a day, different amounts of time. It only happened about 3 or 4 times. It's not any long extended thing. It may be a day or two after we work, and it just comes up from nowhere. A horrible feeling of being out of touch, out of control, and this terrible feeling of dread. I don't know what I'm dreading. I mean, there's nothing that I can visualize or even imagine. There's no focus for it. It's just a horrible feeling of dread. I don't know if other people would think that it's horrible. Maybe they've felt lots worse. But it's new to me. I've never felt that way before. And like I said, if I felt this wasn't important and I could walk away from it, I would. Because it really complicates my life. And I don't want to complicate my life. But I thought the other things we worked on years ago might have complicated your life. You know, when we were working on the past lives and you started channeling about the seeding of Earth. No, that didn't complicate my life. In fact, that was separate. That seemed to be an addition to my life. But this is directly in my life. It's not something that's separate. It's coming through a different channel, so to say, or something. Yes, the past lives, even though they are strange, don't affect you directly. Right, they're removed. And this alien abduction thing, it's something that's been happening to you in this lifetime. That makes a difference, doesn't it? Yeah, you know, that first time we worked on this, and I saw the little creatures in the road, I remember that feeling of, I don't want this to change my reality. I don't want this to happen. I resisted it because it was changing my concept of reality and my foundations. It feels like part of what's happening now is that, again, my reality foundations are being challenged. The things that I've taken for granted and drawn so much strength from, basing my perceptions of what is and isn't reality, is being, frankly, shot to hell. I don't want to hurt you in any way. No, I know, and you don't. And like I say, if this was something that was insignificant, I would rather walk away, but I can't. There's a responsibility here, not only to myself, but there's a larger responsibility or something or someone else. I feel that I have to do this. It's something I can't just close off and forget about. You know, after that first session, you were disturbed, and I thought maybe you wanted to just drop it right then. But then a few days later you said, well, I want to go on with it. I thought if it bothered you that much, we wouldn't have to explore it. The feelings are not something that I can handle. It complicates my life, and it makes it unpleasant for a while, but even so, it's important to me, for some reason, to get this out to other people. It's not something that I relish doing, but it's something that I feel very strongly that I have to do. I don't have any clear vision of why or what's going to come from it, but I know it's important to continue. Okay, because if it's bothering you, we can always drop it. We don't have to do it. I understand that, and I appreciate it. I just wanted you to be aware. A couple of times I postponed calling you and setting up another session because I felt I had to walk away from it for a while. That's why I let you call the shots. I never want to push you into something you don't want to do. But is there any way you can push this to the back of your mind and pretend it's a dream so that it doesn't bother you? No. It's important that I do get this out of me and out to the world. It's a blockage inside. There's this disturbance inside that needs to be vented and released. I guess that's why it's important on a personal level that I continue. Maybe if you didn't release it, it would act on your subconscious in a different way. Exactly. I feel as though the conscious and subconscious are battling over this and trying to adjust my perception of reality. It's in the subconscious and it needs to be released through the conscious. Right. Well, anyway, you said you thought you could handle it better now than you could have a couple of years ago when we first started working on these past lives. It could have come out then. I wouldn't have wanted to even try to deal with it back then. It's hard to describe. I don't know why it's so upsetting. But the knowledge of all that stuff that we worked with before in the channeling and being familiar with other entities and aliens and so forth, it's good background to be able to handle this now. It was preparation to deal with this. I say my constitution is really strong, but yet at the same time, the human psyche is very fragile. Yes, that's right. That's why we have to be careful. But usually the subconscious won't allow you to bring anything forward that's going to harm you. It's very protective. That's probably why it's kept it hidden all this time. Yes, exactly. But there is the growth factor. You have to grow. You have to heal. And there's a compromise there in comfort versus healing. Not all healing is necessarily comfortable, but the priority would be that the healing over the relatively minor discomfort be achieved. So it's something that I have to continue with until I don't know. I don't know what it's going to lead to. Yes, I thought we were finished last week, but apparently there's still some more to be explored. I have a good sense of when to cut something off or what to explore. Not so much consciously, but I guess my subconscious or someone on the other side perhaps is directing what needs to come out and what doesn't. Right, I think your subconscious will shut off if it thinks you can't handle it. That's the way it works. Otherwise, the memories wouldn't have been stirred up in the first place. Yes, there's a definite mechanism at work here that is directing what comes out and when and how and why. Apparently it's time, so here we are. We find ourselves doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, I guess. But yet, when you were around those beings, you said you felt love for them. Exactly. There's a contradiction there because when it's actually happening in the dreams or in the recall, it seems that it's not scary and it's not frightening. There's no feeling of dread. It's like the experience goes directly into the psyche or something. If I'm interpreting this right, if I understand this correctly, these feelings of dread are the conscious mind trying to deal with this. It's like the conscious mind is a little, not just a little, but very immature. And then the conscious mind has to be subdued or something in order to experience that. It's such a powerful experience during the visitation. I don't like the term abduction. No, I don't either. So it's like the conscious mind is somehow squelched and the experience is going directly into, I don't know if the subconscious would be accurate or what level it is. Maybe into a memory bank or whatever. I can understand that. And then all of a sudden when the conscious sees it, it says, hey, something really happened here. And it begins to get frightened. That's one of the things right there. Did it happen? That's one of the feelings of losing grip, losing touch with reality, is that feeling of, did this really happen? Now, wait a minute, you're going crazy, the mind says. You're making this up. That sounds like the conscious mind. This would be a feeling of, if these things happen, why couldn't I control it? It couldn't handle it at the time, and now it's probably trying to push it back. I think it's the conscious mind trying to deal with something that's far beyond its comprehension. This is so new on a conscious level. I think that's why it's important to continue, because my conscious mind is learning from this and growing in self-stature and awareness. The important thing is not to let the conscious mind just rationalize it away, but to actually come to terms with it. That is what I have to continue with, to allow my conscious mind to actually grip this situation. You could accept it and deal with it as you would at any traumatic or unpleasant event in your life. Maybe this is part of the reason why the average person doesn't want to try to remember some of these things, because they don't know if they'll be able to handle it or not. It's surprising how immature the conscious mind is. The ego is really infantile. Chapter 23, Denial of Access. After that discussion, we started the session. I had planned to explore the dream about the metal probe being inserted into his body. I also wanted to trace the black box back to the time he had apparently built it and left it on the ship for his future incarnation of Phil to discover. Those were my objectives. But although Phil was willing, or apparently thought he was willing, to explore these things, his subconscious was not so anxious to cooperate this time. When Phil entered his familiar trance, he encountered a barrier of sorts. The entities, or whoever it is that seemed to control these sessions, announced that they would not allow Phil to explore any event pertaining to his present lifetime. They were aware of the turmoil his conscious mind was going through in its attempt to adjust these disclosures with his version of reality, the problems he was having trying to integrate the information into his normal everyday life. Until his conflict was resolved, it was determined that we would not be allowed to further explore these incidents. Therefore, access was denied. But they did agree to answer questions as long as I did not approach these personal experiences. Phil said, "We share your concern for the vehicle, for he is one of us, and we would not allow him to experience that which would be destructive to one who has chosen such a precarious mission. We watch with great interest, for he has chosen, from our perspective, perhaps the most perilous mission one could possibly choose, and has as yet done quite well. he has literally run the risk of total loss of control, cut off from what many would experience in order to guide them or protect them. He, however, has chosen to go it alone and prove his devotion and loyalty to the cause, the purpose. And so we would be very protective in not allowing him to harm himself or others to harm him. Yes, and you know I am always working for that aim also. That is accurate, for that is why we have assisted in this endeavor, as long as you are the one he works with, because your concern is valid and genuine. There is one thing I don't understand. You said he is alone. I thought we have our guardians and our guides that are always there to assist us, that we wouldn't come back to Earth without that help. There are experiences given which tend to direct one's life. Experiences which would direct the entity back to its original purpose, to gently steer it back onto the proper course when the path is perhaps lost. At this time, the vehicle is undergoing preparations for what we would term a shift in consciousness to a higher, more refined level of communication with those entities and energies which he has worked with throughout the eons to bring help to this planet. There have been many preparations made to enable this exchange of awarenesses. It is not simply a unilateral giving or taking. It is a bilateral shifting of awareness of consciousness, a trading of places such that the one then becomes the other. The journey is both figurative and literal, because there will be a displacement given to facilitate this change in awareness. The spiritual journey is one of a stretching of the abilities to a realm which, at least from the physical point of view, has never been attained yet. There are, of course, many dimensions unmentionable here, which can also be affected. However, it would be accurate to say that this journey is somewhat of a graduation in a sense. Of all this has come before in preparation. And yet, at the same time, it is, of course, a new beginning, a new chapter. Will this affect the vehicle's life? That is accurate. On an emotional level, there will be a change in awareness of not only self, but of others. I was wondering how it would affect his day-to-day life. We would say that it would be much for the better. In one of his experiences, well, two really, he was shown a small black box when he was on board one of these craft. Could you give me any information about that black box? Perhaps. It was shown to him at that time as an indication of not only his heritage, but the direction he would soon be taking. There was, at that point, a juncture, a choice of several different options in his life. He was given this experience so that he could, in his inner planes, access and assimilate the information that would be available to him, and so choose, through his higher awareness, that which would be most appropriate to his chosen profession and responsibilities in this lifetime. This was a bringing together of that which had been accomplished with that which has yet to be accomplished. This experience with the black box was simply a catalyst for this assimilation and determination. It was simply a linking of the past, present, and future. Then, at the times he was shown the black box, he was at junctures in his life? Correct, from a particular point of view, however, not in a literal sense. He said the box seemed familiar to him. Yes, the origin of the box was connected with his own origin. Does the box contain anything? Yes, both literally and figuratively. There is information gained or carried within the box, as well as information which is literal, inscribed in and on the box. But he couldn't figure out how to open it. Correct. This is a built-in safeguard. The key is within his own mind. The key is mental, and the information within the box cannot be accessed and brought into this conscious reality until he has reached the proper stage of maturity or spiritual development. Will he at some time be able to open the box? Yes, that is his destiny, or part of his chosen destiny. At that point, when his experience reaches the level that he can not only understand but assimilate the information given through the box, then he will open it. The experience is, again, one of a catalyst in nature, given to verify that which has been and to illustrate that which could come again. He remarked at one time that he thought he had made the box. This is accurate. Could you go to the time when the box was first made? That is not to be given. So we're not allowed to go to that time? That is accurate. All right, I respect that. I was wondering about it because that box is a puzzle to me. It is truly and accurately a puzzle to him also, in the sense that it was not understandable to him at the time he saw it. A frame of reference is necessary, and the experiences have to be given which would allow for the complete understanding of that which has been and that which shall be. When that happens, he'll be ready for it? That is accurate. We would say that the physical appearance was of a small object, perhaps rectangular in appearance, almost black in color. It was made of a natural element, a type of stone found in an area with which he is very familiar. Is it from Earth? That is not to be given. That is all the information you can have about the little black box at this time. Will I be allowed to have general information about these extraterrestrials? Yes, as long as you do not encroach upon the volatile area of Phil's own personal experiences. It is time for this information to be more fully drawn out and examined and understood by others. Okay then, thank you. What is the most common type of ET that is visiting our Earth at this time? A physical extraterrestrial being? The humanoid subgroup. There are subgroups of the general category of humanoid. There are many which are identical to your physical bodies. The seeding which was done on your planet was of this nature, and yet there are those which are distantly related, yet very unconventional looking by your standards. This type, a distant cousin, is more prevalent of the visitation type. The androids, as you call them, are simply workers who have volunteered for this mission. They have removed themselves from the area in which they have been programmed to volunteer their services into this accomplishment. We hesitate to use the word experiment, for the outcome is already predicted and known. However, we do not want to say mission for this majority of the work. We find we must discontinue this line of discussion, for there's a misunderstanding arising of the intent of the actions taken. The information given has been misconstrued as aggressive and not of a helping nature. We would not wish to promote the idea that we come as conquerors, however. We are helpers. You mentioned that the outcome was already known. What do you mean? The ultimate outcome, not the individual and personal outcomes which each of you must create in your own fashion. What is the ultimate outcome? The raising of the human race to universal level of awareness, to be brothers of the star people and not subjugates or subordinates. What do these creatures, the humanoids or androids, look like? Those which you have described as gray in appearance are small in stature. The eyes, of course, are the most prominent facial feature simply because they are the communicative receptors. Do their eyes function the same as human eyes? In a sense, they see. However, they collect much more of what you would call your visible light spectrum, also including the infrared and ultraviolet regions. Do their eyes have pupils and function in the same manner as ours? Not in the sense that they focus and capture light. In that sense, they're different. They do receive, yet their methods of reception are based on a different principle involved. Do their eyes have eyelids? Not in the sense that they cover, not in the way that yours do. Do they have similar respiratory systems? They are similar only in the fact that they are used to analyze, not to digest or ventilate. Do these people take any form of substance? They need no physical substance to maintain. They are energy beings which can maintain on pure mental energy. That is sufficient. Then they do not consume anything like humans. Correct. Could they assimilate by osmosis? There is the assimilation. There is ionization of compounds and perhaps rectification of certain anomalies which may appear. However, as sustenance, they derive energy more from the energy sources than from digestive or respiratory functions. What type of energy would they live on? Do you mean like elements present in the atmosphere? Mental energy is their sustenance. Would they thrive on emotions? There is no emotional content for them. These are called androids, which are emotionless, yet responsive to mental energy. I mean, would they thrive on emotions thrown out by others? They would be affected, however not sustained. How are these creatures produced? This is a process assigned to the central part of the planet, which holds the residence of those energies of the gubernatorial nature. An analogy being the country, or perhaps state, in which your political system lies. The process is a blending of energies, both physical and mental in nature, so that this physical construction is given mental responsiveness. Are they cloned or manufactured in some way, or made by another individual? They are both, in the sense that the mental energy is given by life forces, but they are, in a sense, manufactured because the process is more of assembly than growth. They are elements of machinery. However, that is not to say there is not living or life force energy in these units. The androids are responsive to your mental energies, but yet take orders or are subservient to those who are directing that particular operation in which one would find them. Are genetic experiments between human and androids going on? No. For there is no procreation between androids. They are not self-sustaining in nature. They are simply creations which are, through a bonding process, given a life force, which reacts with and is empathic to the life force with which they come in contact. They are not, however, procreative. How do androids communicate with beings on the planet Earth? We would like to clarify that they do not communicate with you earthlings, but with those who are their superiors. Who are their superiors? Those who are responsible for each particular mission in which there is an interaction. However, there are elements of awareness far above and beyond even that. It would be as if the masters of the universe are sending out these underlings who would participate in whatever mission is desired and then report back. It's much like your military structure. So the androids do not communicate with people on Earth. Not in the sense that there is a given direction. That is to say, a human would not direct the operation. The androids do respond to human emotion, but not to the extent that they interact with the intellect. Do they understand human emotion? Correct. They are empathic. Are these beings subject to any afflictions that limit their life terms? No. However, there are those which, in proper context, could be debilitating. None that you yourselves, however, could hope to accommodate. Does this mean that they have eternal life? No, because the bodies are dissimulated after the use has expired. Are there any other beings on these craft with the androids? Certainly. There are many, all with different forms. However, not necessarily to say that they have to be. Are they creatures more like we are, required to take sustenance, etc.? Correct. What do the most common ones that accompany these androids look like? They are humanoid in appearance and yet are oftentimes unobserved. They are seeing but not being seen. They are not readily apparent to those who would be taken aboard. They don't usually reveal themselves to a person, you mean? That is correct. If they take substance, what type would it be? There is given in fluid form those elements and materials which would be necessary to their bodily functions. This would not be in the form of a solid food as we know it, not in the sense that there is no solid food given. However, it is not the same type that you yourselves would sustain. Are large numbers of Earth's inhabitants undergoing a form of contact or communication with these beings? Yes, there are many who have volunteered for this. Why are these beings taking people on board these crafts? What is the purpose behind that? We would ask that you understand that your residence on this planet was not, as some feel, accidental, nor was it, as others feel, accurate according to that which is called your Bible. That is to say, that God created man in his own image, such as is understood from a somewhat fundamentalist viewpoint. We would ask that you understand that the human existence on this planet was given by those who are now returning to examine the fruits of their labor, you might say. I was wondering why the visitations are continuing. A planet in residence is to be given to those who would choose to begin in another planet and not participate in the final upheaval of this planet Earth. It is therefore necessary to understand the biological state of those vehicles that would choose to migrate, so there is not given to that other planet the contamination which is indigenous to this planet. Those who would choose to go would be filtered and screened carefully so there are no genetic or biologic defects introduced to the new planet's population. It is desired that only those who are most suitable be transported, so that the race which would evolve would be as free from defect as possible. There are many genetic defects in your own human stock, which you need not only look around to recognize, such as your psychological and physical deformities. Those are undesirable. This entity, this vehicle, Phil, was chosen to be involved in this project. He himself, at one time on another planet, was the experimenter, as opposed to the experimented. He has now elected to place himself in this position so that he can understand that experience from another angle. Turnabout is fair play, in other words. Correct. It has been said that there will be spaceships standing by to take some survivors off our planet if we use our atomic bombs. Is there anything you can tell us about this? We would say that if the scenario you have described were to become a reality, then there would be those who would be offered the option of relocating to another planet. This will also be offered at the time of the coming Earth shift. At this time, the new planet is in a somewhat imperfect state of construction. However, it is one which would be able to support life quite readily for those who would choose to go there. There will be those who would choose to remain and take care of what would be left behind, or try to restart or rebuild that which is on this planet. The option would be given and would be entirely voluntary on the part of each individual. Just as your planet was seeded, nurtured, and watched over for eons, another has received its life charter and is ready for habitation. Your body styles are compatible and are being prepared as the new race. History is merely repeating itself in its ongoing process. As your planet is entering its death throes and making ready for drastic traumatic changes, another planet, new, fresh, and unspoiled, is being readied for those who would make the journey. It is, as yours once was, pristine and unsullied. During the coming earth upheavals, many will not survive and others will try to relocate. Hopefully the same mistakes will not be made on the new world. If one chooses to go to the other planet, would they be transported with the body that they have now, or would they be changed? That is accurate. It would be a physical, three-dimensional transportation en masse. Would spaceships be used? That is accurate. This planet you speak of, is it in our solar system? No, but in the Milky Way galaxy. Is it similar to Earth? In some respects, yes. In many respects, no. There would be a period of acclimation necessary for your human bodies, which have become acclimated to the energy of this planet, to realign to the new planet. There would be a feeling of disorientation and a period of melancholy. However, the sustaining energies on that planet would eventually heal those imbalances left by the energies of this planet. That planet would be much more conducive to your human life forms than this planet. Is that planet inhabited now? Not by those of your race at this time. However, there are those who are of a more custodial or constructive nature, still working to prepare that planet for those of you who would choose to inhabit it. It is not inhabited, but populated, yes. It has not been populated en masse, but it could be at any time. You said there were some difference. How is that planet different? There are those energies present on that planet which are absent on this planet. It has to do with the energy rivers which course through the universe. That planet is in a different river of energy. Does that planet have a name? The name given to that planet has no equivalence to translate at this time. However, in spiritual realities, a vibration is given. You yourselves, those of you who shall choose to inhabit this planet, will be given the responsibility of choosing a name based on the experiences previous to the migration, as well as the experience of those on the planet at that time. We should not be so presumptuous as to give this name ahead of the time, as those who are the true inheritors of the planet themselves have not so decided. Are there physical topography differences between that planet and our planet? Yes. The areas most conducive to inhabitation at this time would be similar to your Midwest plains. The planet itself is somewhat unsettled. It itself has not completed its own growth and is somewhat immature as a planet. However, it would be most conducive to supporting life as you know it in your life forms. And yes, animals could be transported also. That planet would support animal life. If we choose to go to that planet, will we remember that we left Earth? Certainly. There will be no loss of consciousness. However, only those who would be the most productive on that planet would be allowed to migrate. Those who would introduce a criminal element would not be allowed. Only those of the highest nature would be allowed to transmigrate. Then there would be certain restrictions. That is accurate. Would those who remain and don't choose to go to this other planet be more or less picking up the pieces and restructuring according to what it was? Or would there be the desire to create something different? There will be those who choose to remain on this planet to clean up the mess and to begin anew. These will be assisted in many ways by the extraterrestrials. Also, the beings of light would remain to assist those who stay behind, in order to build a more perfect union of mind, body, and spirit in the environment they find. Many lessons of a strengthening nature could be learned from remaining here. Those who choose to leave will then begin a new civilization on another planet, cousins to those who are to remain behind. Will there also be qualifications for those who remain? The individual themselves would make that decision as to remain or not. The qualifications are simply being physically able to survive. There would be no forced transmigration. The choice would simply be with the individual. The times at that period will be of a testing nature, not for those who would be, perhaps, squeamish. Is this planet going to be available even if nothing happens to Earth? Correct. On this planet, what kind of environment would people live in? There would be given those technologies which would allow for the construction of cities and societies as you know them here. However, there would be also given those additional technologies and concepts which would allow for a more perfect societal structuring, free of the prejudices and restrictions found in your societies on Earth. Is it possible for us to eventually construct a ship that will take people back and forth between the two planets? There is no need for your technology to attempt this, for you have not reached the point which would allow it. The ability to do this is already in place. However, it is not your technology that would allow this transportation. Would these people that choose to go there be allowed to go back and forth, to return to Earth and travel between the two planets? There will be those who can be shuttled, taking what has been learned from the new planet and integrating it back into this old planet and sharing the knowledge. Will there be telepathic communication with this new world? There will be communication. However, the telepathic nature of the communication would rest entirely with the individuals involved. Those who would choose to allow themselves that ability would be given lessons on how to improve it and in which manners to use it. Eventually, the entire population will be at a telepathic level because that is the universal communication method. Can you tell us a little bit about those who would assist Earthlings in this transportation? They are called, as has been said earlier, the helpers. those of a high spiritual nature, who are even now assisting in the energy redirection of your planet to hopefully prevent self-destruction. They are those who are taking those samples and abductions, as you call them. They themselves have experienced in their past the destruction of their planet in a similar fashion, and the subsequent migration to another planet. They are well suited to the task of assistance because they can draw personally from that knowledge of the events which happened on their planet. They themselves have volunteered for this assignment, as they can well relate to the necessities involving the transplanting of a society en masse from one planet to another. There are many different types of helpers involved here. Not all are from one planet, but they all share in some form or another the desire to assist those of you on this planet, to help in raising your consciousness, raising your vibration, and allowing you to become more aware of not only yourselves, but the sacredness of all those around you, and to be aware of and to be able to relate to and share in the love of that which you call the universe, that Christ spirit, or that God energy, of which the universe is made and is so routinely denied on this planet. Do the Pleiadians have any special significance in this relocation process that we've been discussing? Only in that those who are assisting are of the Pleiadian nature. Many come from that solar system, or are inhabitants of the systems of the Pleiades. However, not that the new home planet itself is in the Pleiades. That was going to be my next question. It has been said that in the sleep state, some of us are being taken aboard spaceships and trading information concerning the events to come. Is this true? Correct. For always in any civilization undertaking a dramatic change such as this, there will be coaching and practice runs, so that during the actual transportation there will not be a feeling of total disorientation, but of accomplishment, of having practiced or done this many times before. This is simply to prepare those who would choose to relocate, to allow them the most comfort possible in this transference, so that the concept would not be new, but would be very familiar. This is not done in the physical sense, but is entirely true in a spiritual sense. A practice run, so to say. We would ask that you visualize at this time a concept of a refuge, an area to remove those individuals to who would be most traumatically affected by the coming earth change, which is now in progress on your planet. Has this change been occurring for a long time? Not in your chronological years. However, it has been worked on and prepared for many eons on the spiritual planes. It seems like our climate is changing. Does that have anything to do with it? That is a manifestation of this change, not a cause of it. A simple reflection of the reality that this change is, in fact, occurring, just as many other changes are now occurring on many different levels, and are apparent to those who would turn their attention to this change. Am I right in assuming that the seasons have changed? Correct. Is this being caused by a shift of the earth? Correct. Are earthquakes a part of this? Correct. There are countless shifts in the tectonic plates now occurring on your planet, from which was somewhat more stable to that of which is more fluid. It has been observed that there is an increase in movement of all tectonic plates. This is owing to the fact that the electromagnetic field around your planet is also in flux. It is therefore causing the iron content of the crust to attempt to realign itself with this new electromagnetic energy. The plates are following the new flux alignments. Then this has something to do with the iron content. The crust itself is reactive to the magnetic properties of the electromagnetic field surrounding your planet. It is as if the plates are somewhat magnetic in reactant to these electromagnetic fields and are trying to realign themselves to these fields. It is similar to iron filings following a magnet placed under a paper. As we perceive it, at this point, the tectonic plate theory has been understood to be a dynamic in change based on the rotation of the Earth. This is not completely accurate in that the crust is attempting to align itself to those magnetic fields. This flux in electromagnetics is the cause of the shifting plates, not the polar alignment. Over the years, there have been many cases of mutilation of livestock that have been attributed to the activity of UFOs or possibly ETs. If this is true, why is this being done? Since there are so many cases of it, it would seem like a farming operation rather than a research operation. We would say that in many instances, this was simply the work of individuals who, through misuse of their own energies, had developed a need to generate some excitement and were nothing more than simple demonstrations. However, this is not to say that all mutilations were of this nature. There is a segment of these instances in which ETs are involved. In these cases, the mutilations are experimental in obtaining a better understanding of the biological, immunological, physiological makeup of these animals. There is at this time a testing of compatibility of certain animals to be allowed to migrate or transport to populate the seeding planet now being prepared. There were organs needed for genetic and biologic experimentation. However, those would be the minority of the reported cases. Then they're not only preparing humans, they're preparing the food sources they will need. Is that what you will mean? Not, so to say, preparing, but rather to gain a better understanding of those species which would be the most appropriate to transport. In other words, to somewhat mutate those sources now available on your planet to a higher level, so they would be more compatible with the other planet. Surely on the new planet they would not be eating meat, would they? There are those who would be most sustained by meat. We're not going to totally change our habits, I guess. I'm interested in knowing if the ETs are doing anything genetically with us. Are there any genetic acceleration techniques being used? We feel here that you speak of in humanoid terms, that is, as applying to your physical human bodies. We would say that there is the attempting to create a more perfect human body in terms of immunological response to disease and resistance to disease initially, such that there will be those of human bodies eventually that would be most resistant to most forms of disease on your planet now. The intent of this genetic engineering is to, in essence, create a more perfect physical body, such that the spirit, once raised in energetic awareness, can more perfectly translate into these more perfect bodies. A more perfect spirit requires a more perfect body. Then in this way they're actually helping more than they are harming, aren't they? Indeed, there is no intent on harm in any of this. In order to perfect your human species, that is, your physical human bodies, it is necessary to study and take samples. The effort being expended here is of making a perfect human vehicle, such that the debilitating diseases of old age and mental retardation and cancer and all forms of disease would be eliminated. It is necessary to study the human anatomy in this intimate environment in order to more fully understand the mechanisms at work which cause these debilitating manifestations. The effort is to create a perfect human vehicle, such that those who would habit this other planet then would begin to procreate these genetically superior bodies, or vehicles for your souls. What would be the object of having a superior body? I thought our main objective was to raise our spiritual vibration. That is correct. But would you wish to inhabit a lesser or inferior vehicle as opposed to a more superior vehicle? Does it really matter if the spirit is only temporarily here in the body anyway? Certainly, for the ability to do the work that your soul has prescribed is directly influenced by the ability of your vehicle to do that work. I work with other people who have had these types of UFO experiences. Will it also be difficult to get their information? The information is simply difficult to reach or access, owing to the volatile nature of the personalities involved. The information is buried beneath the highly disruptive cover of emotional trauma caused by the extreme warping of conscious reality. Does this burying of the information occur through the person's own subconscious, or do the ETs do something to cause the information to hide? It is a safety device to allow the information to be protected from manipulation by the subconscious. Perhaps here we should say that the subconscious would change the interpretation so that it would be presented in a more palatable manner. We would then need to rearrange the information so that it could be presented more accurately. Do you think this is the safety device when the subconscious interprets it in a different way? Correct. It would be interpreted in a rational manner. We would say that the burying of information is necessary so the experience be undisturbed and unadulterated by conscious rationalizing or conscious rational thought. Therefore, it, by necessity, must be buried at a level which would place it away from the conscious mind. I was wondering if the beings used some form of hypnosis, such as I use, to cause this information to be hidden. It possibly could be related in those terms. However, it is a somewhat more involved process because it accounts for many spiritual functions at the same time, as of yet undiscovered in human awareness, uncharted areas of awareness that, as of yet, remain largely unknown. Ah, then it's more complicated than we realize. Is this why it's so difficult to retrieve the information? Correct. It seems that it takes hypnosis to bring it forward. Is there any reason for that? It is simply that the information is buried beneath conscious awareness, and so it must be reached in a manner which would preclude the conscious state from editing or rearranging the information. Hypnosis is a form of direct communication with that which is often called the subconscious. Then by using this method, will the information be accurate when it comes forth? As best as can be interpreted by the perceptions of the individual involved, yes. For what is related is simply a restating of that which was perceived. But do you think I can be reasonably sure it is accurate when it comes forth this way? The information given would be perhaps colored by the emotional trauma of the experience. But the person won't be able to actually falsify information, would they? That again would depend on the moral character of the individual involved. For were his standards such that the information be unadulterated or changed, and be presented as accurately as possible, then that would be the standard the individual would follow. However, there are, again, those who would not hold such a high standard. Then if someone had a tendency to exaggerate or lie in real life, they could do it under hypnosis also? Correct. Would they make up a story completely, or would they just change some details? I'm always curious as how I can tell. There is perhaps no real way of discerning that which is completely fabricated and that which is true experience. The pathology of the personality of the individual would dictate the moral standards which the individual follows. Therefore, one would necessarily need a complete understanding of the pathology of that individual in order to ascertain the degree of coloring given to the information. The need to embellish would perhaps be more prevalent in a somewhat less refined personality. Although, not to say that all of the less refined personalities would embellish, simply that the predisposition to embellish would perhaps be more prevalent in the lower vibration personalities. I was just wondering if there was a chance that the entire story they were telling me could be made up. That is possible, although not likely. Then it would be more common for it to have some facts than just embellishment? Correct. To perhaps relate it in terms of misperception rather than deliberate falsehoods. Then basically, when they tell me a story, I can assume it's based on some accuracy. Correct. Based on some fact. However, again, the perception of said fact dictates that which is translated or related. Those are the things I worry about. How can I be sure when working with this type of information? But you mentioned that these memories are buried deep into the subconscious and the psyche to protect the person. I can agree with that. These people who have had these experiences with ETs begin to have nightmares. Is there a reason for that? There was a long pause, and then Phil opened his eyes, unexpectedly breaking the trance. He simply said, "I'm sorry, I'm up, I'm awake." Apparently, I had inadvertently trespassed into the forbidden area. They apparently had not perceived my other questions as threatening until I inadvertently crossed the line into what they thought might relate to Phil's own experiences. Even though I could see no connection, they apparently thought I was leading in that direction. It seemed they didn't like the way the questioning was going and left, breaking the trance.
Which ETs contacted the Mayans?
The Maya are the descendants of extraterrestrials. That particular humanoid species came to Earth, established colonies, built many of the structures that you understand that exist in those regions on your planet. But in that sense, it is the Maya themselves that built those things, those ancient extraterrestrial ancestors that came to Earth. It's simply that some of them chose to remain on Earth when the majority of the Maya left. So the idea is that the Maya that exist today are the actual descendants of an extraterrestrial race. So it's not so much that the extraterrestrials came and visited the Maya and helped them with those structures. The Maya themselves, in their early form, actually built those structures because they are actually extraterrestrials who came to Earth. After the majority of the Maya extraterrestrials left, which actually are called the Mayab, the idea of the remnants that stayed, the few that stayed, created the Maya civilization as you know it, but it also devolved because they were no longer experiencing the level of technology that the original Mayab had. And also because of different things that have gone on your planet, certain destructions, certain environmental issues, encounters with individuals that conquered the civilization has allowed them to forget much of their ability that they originally had. But when those structures were originally created, they were created by the Maya when they were at their peak, before they left.
You mentioned earlier that the Mayan people came to the planet via spacecraft. Is that correct?
The ancient versions of them, yes.
So were they also part of the Homo sapien creation, and they were off planet, or these were
no.
So they were actually another species, the Maya.
Yes. And of course, remember that the descendants of the original Mayab people have also mixed with actual humans. So there are very few original bloodlines that remain from the original Mayab people that arrived on your planet as an external species.
Chapter 24, The Mysterious Black Box. Several months passed, and since I was involved in many other projects, I put Phil's experiences on the back burner. I thought we had gone as far as we could under the circumstances. Thus months passed before Phil unexpectedly phoned me. He had had a strange dream that suggested the strong possibility of another alien encounter. Not surprisingly, he thought it might concern the black box. When we met again, he began by telling me the memories of the dream. He was once more on board the craft, surrounded by the little greys, their little hands lovingly touching his arms and body. In front of him stood the pilot, holding the black box. This time Phil received the impressions of concern and anxiousness from the beings. The eyes of the pilot expressed a feeling of urgency, as though an important time of decision had arrived. He had the feeling that they were rooting for him, hoping he would recognize the importance of the box and at last be able to decipher the message. When I regressed him, the elevator door opened, and he was immediately thrust into the same scene as his dream. The beings surrounded him, their eyes giving off the feeling of anxiousness and expectation. The pilot handed him the box, and they awaited his reaction. Phil studied it and described it as a small, black, oblong, or coffin-shaped box. He knew it was made from some type of stone not available on Earth. The box could only be opened by the correct mental vibration of his own mind. It was so keyed into this vibration that until the proper point of development was reached in Phil, no amount of concentration would open it. Thus it could not be faked, and it could not be opened by anyone else because he himself had programmed it. It suddenly came to him in a flash that the box contained so much information that it would be impossible to access it all while in physical form. The real totality of it was so profound and vast that it was impossible for the human mind to comprehend. He realized this and instantly knew he could only have access to a small portion that would help him to understand his present life. That would have to be enough for now. When he came to this understanding, a strange thing happened. It was as though a trigger had been pressed. A small drawer slid out of the wide end of the box. He saw that the drawer contained an oblong, rounded stone which emitted a turquoise glow. At last he had found the procedure to open the box. But what did all of this have to do with the glowing stone? He received the mental message that if he stared into its opaque surface, the appropriate portion of his subconscious mind would be unlocked. His memory would be triggered and the information brought forth into the conscious mind. I was filled with chills of expectation. Would we at last have access to the hidden information, and what type would it be? My curiosity was intense, and I hoped that at last the access barrier would be removed. As he stared into the depths of the stone, the scene of the room on the craft faded and was replaced by something else. He said, "I see a very intense white light. A very pure and radiant white light that is of a high order of magnitude, as white as electric in nature. This energy is what is commonly referred to as the white light of protection. This is the white light of protection. This energy has no identity, as identity is meaningless at this level. It, however, has what is called on your level consciousness, or a definite awareness. It is of the supreme order or magnitude of the energies of the universe." Am I really speaking to what would be considered the white light? It would be more accurate to say that the energies of the white light are in communication. This energy would now speak to Philip, for there is a very definite message here which is to be given at this time. We will translate as the difference in energies from that level to this from which we speak is not conducive to direct translation. So we will translate and assist in this communication. The information is thus. We would say that you have learned your lessons well, our child. At this time in your evolution, there is an awareness channel being opened to allow you more direct access to those areas from which you seem most isolated. You have been denied access to them previously for a reason. There was a period of time in a previous lifetime, if you so choose that terminology, in which you abused this privilege. This area of your awareness was closed off at that time, so you would be experiencing a lack in this lifetime, a very definite feeling of denial. This was done so that you would more fully appreciate the usage of this awareness and this power. This has caused you much grief and concern in this incarnation, so much so that you have often felt the desire to return to spirit and be once again in these energies. At that period in your previous life on another planet, there was an experience there. Those energies became unbalanced due to misuse. This experience caused you to decide for yourself the most appropriate manner in which you would rebalance them. In the other lifetime, did he use these energies in a negative way? Is that why it was shut off to him? Correct. It would be likened to a fall in energetic potential. You keep saying there's no such thing as time, but I was wondering when that occurred. We would translate this in Earth terms as roughly several million of your years. But he had to wait that long through many, many lifetimes to earn the right to come back to using the energy correctly again? Correct. We will speak freely of this incident at this time, for this was an experience which was necessary for the development of this vehicle. The composite energies of this energy, now called Phil, would be more accurately described as being a phase. So it was important for this phase to experience what was brought about by the misuse and subsequent removal of access to these energies. This occurred because he disclosed that which was not to have been disclosed. There was a situation in that period when he desired to assist in the uplifting of those who were in his charge. There are strict rules in the universe as to what can be given and what is not to be given. These rules are absolute and shall not be breached. In his attempted assistance, he broke those rules, and in the process, the right to the energies was blocked. These energies we speak of are those of knowledge and information and intuition. These were necessarily removed in order to allow him to understand why it is necessary to have these rules. The energies were simply closed off, and so a long process of incarnations was begun, culminating in this current physical incarnation in which the vehicle now finds himself. These energies are now being returned, and their usage being relearned. For through the many incarnations, the remembrance of the use of these energies was gradually forgotten. And so now it is important and necessary to retrain his consciousness in the proper use of these energies. This experience has come full circle and has returned the vehicle to that point in which he may most appropriately make use of these energies. Did this happen on another planet? This occurred in another dimension, not in this universe, but in a physical part of another similar universe. What kind of position was he in at that time? You said he had responsibilities. There were many millions of beings or incarnate individuals under his jurisdiction. It would be as if he were a system sovereign at that time. I'm trying to understand. You said earlier that there were councils over different universes. Would it be that type of thing? Not to the universal level, but a system level. A planetary system would be a sub-unit of the universe. Like a galaxy or a solar system? That would be accurate. A collection of inhabited planets. Was he in a physical form at that time? No. It would not be possible for a system sovereign to delegate his responsibilities from a physical form. For it is necessary to cover the system or to be throughout the system simultaneously in such a way as to be aware of all that is happening throughout the system. The consciousness necessarily is vast and diverse, spread throughout the system, so that all within the system would be in contact with the sovereign. That would mean that he had progressed to a very high level, right? Correct. I'm trying to understand, so my questions may seem naive. There are councils over the universes, and then these councils are broken up into sovereigns over different systems? There are hierarchies that would be compared to the levels of government on your planet, beginning with possibly the lowest level, the head of the household, who then would be responsible to the head of the block, if there were such a thing, and there are many analogous existences. Each neighborhood block would have one who is responsible for the safety and welfare of those on that block, who in turn would be responsible to the mayor of the city, who would then be responsible to the county government, and to the state, and to the federal level, and then to the planetary level, if one would choose. And then there would be one over many planets, or one solar system? Correct. Would he then be directly responsible to the council, or would there be someone in between? There are many councils on many different levels. The system is responsible to that which is above, and so forth. And those below would be responsible to the system. It is neither the highest nor the lowest of stations. In other words, at that time he had a great deal of responsibility and knowledge, and in misusing it, he revealed forbidden things. Is that right? He gave information and energy to a race of peoples who were attempting to lift the consciousness on their planet. He, as the sovereign, felt in that situation it would be most appropriate for this information to be given. It was a most unique situation, not generally covered by the rules in such cases. It seems as though he had the right motives in mind. Correct. There was no malicious intent. However, the rules were thus broken to the utter dismay of the sovereign. The information became misused and halted the very progress he sought to assist. Oh, then he revealed information to them that he thought would help in their evolution. we would say not so much information as energies. There are many energies. Particular energies were given, which would, if used properly, have definitely advanced the species. However, the energies were not understood and were misused, and so caused a backsliding of the peoples. Could you be more specific about what kind of energy it was? It is impossible to translate, as there are no equivalents in your realm of experience. I'm curious as to how they misused it, as any energy can be misused. I guess there's always two sides to every energy, and they used it in a negative way? Correct. Then, in giving them the use of the energies, he didn't give them the understanding that went with it. There was not sufficient progress in the evolution to allow for the understanding of these energies. It was a calculated risk. Hasn't this also happened to our planet? They take the risk sometimes and reveal things to us, and it's our free will that makes use of it? That is accurate, for there are rules which apply as to which energies can be given to specific individuals at specific times. This was a similar case, but their free will turned it into something negative? Correct. Well then, I cannot see how it would be his fault. The rules were broken. The rules stated that until the evolution of the peoples warranted the usage of these energies, they were to be withheld. They could not be given until such time as the people could understand the full potential of those energies which had not occurred. But apparently they would have been given it at some future time anyway. That would have been probable. But from the stories you have told me that this happened in Earth's past too. Things were given at an inappropriate time. That is true, as it is known throughout the universe that mistakes are made. But in this case, it was more or less a punishment that he was taken away from that position. We would not say punishment, as that is not a fair assessment of the universal energies. It was necessary for the individual to experience why the rules are in place. And this would be facilitated by placing the violator of the rules beneath the energies, so that the lack of these same energies could be experienced. And then through a gradual evolvement to the plane at which the energies are returned, one could fully appreciate the giving and the taking away of these energies. I see. You called it a fall. In other words, he fell to a lower position? We would not put a value judgment on this, for in your phraseologies, fall is given a negative connotation. In our perspective, it is simply a lesson of experience, a very neutral necessity, which adds to the overall experience of the individual. Mistakes are made on many levels, and the understanding which heals the wounds of that mistake is only gained through what one would call a fall. This is hard to comprehend, that even when someone has reached such high levels, it's still possible to make mistakes. Then they have things taken away, and they might have thousands of incarnations over millions of years to be allowed to reach that same point again. We would not put a number on incarnations. The lifetimes you have been shown and which have been discussed are but a small fraction of the breadth of experiences this energy individual had learned from. It was with great soul searching that he made the decision to come to Earth in a body. He knew the experience would be extremely alien, difficult, and lonely. That was why he desired to leave this earthly incarnation through suicide in his youth. The adjustment is so very difficult for these higher energy beings because they are basically innocent and pure. They are more accustomed to the light side and cannot understand or fathom the dark side of this planet. It takes great courage for them to leave the fight and journey to this dark world for the mission, and they have our love and respect. Then he is being given this information now, so he will learn to use energy correctly whenever he receives it. The reason for this, it is now time for the energy to be returned, and so there must be conscious awareness of the purpose of this. For, were this energy simply to appear, it would seem as if it had no real purpose. It would seem to simply appear from nowhere. So it must be consciously directed as to why the energies were blocked and then returned, and to remain aware of the responsibilities of the position of this energy. And that way he can use it wisely? Correct. It is in great love and universal harmony that this has come about. One on the physical plane, such as this, is not often given this opportunity. However, in the current evolution of this planet, it is quite appropriate for those who are so merited to receive this and to use this in such a manner as the goals and needs of the universe as a whole are advanced in evolution by this usage. Is he to use this energy in any certain way? He will become quite adept and familiar with this energy and know its appropriate usage and the time for its usage. It will bring him much feeling of true value, of which he has felt a great lack of in this incarnation. Then, when the time comes, he will be helped to know what to do with it. Correct. He is being helped even now as we speak, for through these sessions the awareness is returning. I've often thought that whenever I meet a client seemingly accidentally, it's always for a definite purpose. Correct. The purposes served are for both of you. There is no accident, as you would call it, in the universe. All that happens has rhyme and reason. There are no coincidences. We say to you now, our child, you have come full circle in this endeavor, and have now arrived at that point from whence you started in your age of personal darkness. You have now merited the full restitution of that which you truly are, and which you so strongly desire. You have now the option of returning to the spirit side, to use this power in the ways you feel are most appropriate, or to remain and use these powers on your level in the way you feel most comfortable. This is entirely your choice at this time. We would say to you to meditate and to think on this, and return to us in the manner you have learned previously. You were given a method just recently by which you could return to the highest self and communicate with the energies of the universe on a conscious level. Give us your answer at that time, so that it is made on a conscious level. for this answer must now be considered from the conscious level. We would say to Philip that if you choose to remain on this planet, more information will be given later at an appropriate time, and further instructions will be forthcoming. Do not try to anticipate what this would be. Simply allow that to happen, which will be. The path being taken, for now, is appropriate, and you will be given more direction at a later time. When you awaken today, you must think on this and make the decision in a conscious state whether to stay or leave. Simply continue to follow that response felt from within, for that is the true taskmaster. Choose wisely, our child, and remember that no judgment will be forthcoming on your decision. Whichever way you choose will be the way your mission progresses. And to you, Dolores, we say that you are encouraged to use the information you have been given. There are no restrictions on this information. If it were so, it would not have been given. At that point, Phil reported that the white light was receding, and he was again aware of holding the box containing the bright stone in his hands on the spaceship. He saw the faces of the pilot and the Greys, and felt a surge of love, happiness, and satisfaction emanating from them. Apparently, they knew he had been at last allowed access to some of his secrets of his past. After the information was revealed and he was told to make the conscious choice, he replaced the stone and the drawer retracted into the box. The alien pilot took it from him and communicated that it would be hidden again in the same compartment on board the craft, where it was placed by Phil eons ago, where it had been waiting for him to remember it and access it, and here it would remain until it was needed again. Phil realized that the information he received was only a small portion of what is contained within the stone. He also knew that the remainder would probably never be given to him while he is in this life. When he reaches the next stage in whatever future lifetime, the release of further information about his origin and destiny would be triggered. Phil was then brought forward to full consciousness, and from the studious look on his face, I knew he would have much to ponder in the days to come. I believe this information is trying to show us that humanity is not the only form spirit can take. That is all we can perceive with our human mind, but it is so limiting. This session demonstrated that you can evolve or revert to a state of pure energy, which, without the physical limitations of the body, can attain unbelievable powers. But since the soul has not reached the ultimate state of perfection, it is still capable of making a mistake, even in that elevated form. And even at that stage, the laws of the universe still apply. If this means a complete return, a going all the way back and starting over, it does not matter, because the soul and the lessons are eternal, and there is no such thing as time. There is only growth, learning, experience, and eternal search for knowledge. Thus, humanity must come to the realization that we are more than we can consciously perceive or even imagine. We are immortal, and as an immortal soul, our horizons and experiences are boundless, totally unlimited. We play at the game of life in whatever form or dimension we find ourselves, until eventually, through eons and millennia, we attain the sought-for perfection and return at last to Source, the ultimate source of all, the Creatorix, God-sciousness, from which everything has sprung.